This man knows exactly the choice that Jim has to make and the beauty of winning it in two different levels. He's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and he was there last night. Are you already on the golf course, Charles? Is that where you are right now? Are you already teeing it up off a red eye? Get out of here.
Hey, not yet, man. I had to find space. My home is being renovated right now, so I got to find a spot wherever I can. So the best place for me is on my golf cart, baby. That's the best place I could be.
other than Pasadena, California, I imagine, Charles.
Other than Pasadena, nothing like being there at the Rose Bowl when your team's in it.
Well, and again, I didn't ask you this last night in the brief talk that we had, so I'd love to ask you, what is it like for you to stroll on that field with your memories? Like, what goes through your brain when you're on the field at the Rose Bowl, Charles?
Man, it's funny because we're standing there on the sideline, and I'm with my boys, and somebody asked a question like, where was the interception, for when I played, and it's like that corner, like right there. I'm like almost right in the, very spot, where I was able to make a big play in the game where we were playing for it all, playing for a national championship. And so you think about, after that game and everybody rushing the field, you just won a national championship. Like, you start thinking about all of those moments, man, and all of the buildup, getting to the Rose Bowl. I always felt like the two teams that I played on in '95 and '96 would be the teams that got to the Rose Bowl, and we never were able to accomplish it. And we would hear stories from the coaches and alumni who had made it to the Rose Bowl, and they'd give their description of riding down that windy road, to get to the game and getting into the, one of the most special stadiums around, and talking about how the weather was going to be, how the sunset would be, once the end of the game would come, and we never got to experience it. And then finally in 1997, we went undefeated and got our chance to go to the Rose Bowl. So I started thinking about all that stuff, man, and it was a lot of great and special memories to me.
And then how about the fact that now for Michigan to win a national championship in 2024 calendar year, 23 season, they have to go through a team from the state of Washington as well. I mean, it's not, you can't make it up. You know what I mean?
No, you can't write it any better. And think about the the games, the epic games that Washington and Michigan had, in the Rose Bowl. Over the years, you remember some of the great names in those games. On our side, you got Wheatley, and on their side, man, they had some great guys, man, as well. So yeah, that's pretty. I didn't even think about that, Rich. That's pretty wild.
Yeah,
so,
I know, and I was sitting I was sitting in a spot, a row in front of Warren Moon, and I'm like, he was wearing his Washington Huskies sweater on, and I'm like, good luck to you later on, and I know you know what it's like to win in this building against Michigan, 1978 Rose Bowl. And,
right.
and now it's a Big Ten matchup.
Yeah,
it's just,
how about that?
Isn't that crazy? I mean, it's so crazy. So what did you think of the game yesterday? What did you think of Michigan's win over Alabama when this game was unfolding? Charles, walk me through your emotions watching that.
Yeah, it was a lot going on, man. I feel like, overall, I feel like for us, there was a lot of missed opportunities. This was a close game, a tight game, but I felt like we could have actually dominated the way we started the game. We had, muff punts. We on a field goal, the ball doesn't get off the ground; it slides past the kicker. Some missed third down opportunities, were throws that, I thought JJ had to make, and maybe it was behind the receiver. But I thought we were physical. Our defensive line started out incredible, getting sacks. I thought there was one hit on the kickoff team, man, where we ran down the field, man, and we just almost knocked the life out of Alabama the way that those guys were hitting. And then, at the end of the game, towards the end, you had, we got to come back. We got to make plays to win the game. And me and you talked about this, talked about Roman Wilson and the block in the back that he had. And it's like, oh my God, like it was clearly a block in the back. It's like, what are you doing? And then the catch, I'm going to call it the catch. We're standing on the sideline, me and my son, and we're watching this ball in the air come out of McCarthy's hands, and it's sailing. And we both, me and my son, said, oh no, that was the game. And here comes Roman Wilson out of nowhere, man, and he snags this thing out of the air, catches it, comes down, and then makes some moves and almost gets him to the end zone. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like we're gonna score now that we're here. And then it's just a matter of tying this game up. And then the end of the game is, hold on, we got another muff punt. I'm like, oh my God.
I know, right?
Oh my God, I'm like, this thing almost ends on a safety, right? Like how does? So this game there were so many ups and downs. I have so many emotions, man. But to watch this defense at the end of the game have to get a stop. They put the ball in their main guy's hands. And again, the defensive line just playing physical, got penetration. The quarterback had nowhere to go. And that thing is over. And man, what a game.
Well,
that was special.
Yeah, Mason Graham, number 55, he was a beast inside and was making plays. And, obviously Saban said that it was a designed run for Milroe. He did have an opportunity to maybe throw it to his left, but the snap was low, and then that was all she wrote. Mason Graham was named the defensive player of the game, but I guess you can't name a cornerback a defensive player in the game when there's only 2 balls thrown in his direction. And that matches the uniform number that Will Johnson wears, which is your uniform number, Charles. And I think this kid, front and back end play together. This kid's going to have his hands full against Washington. That is for sure. And I'm wondering what you think about that matchup and what the kid who wears your number, what you think of him, too, Charles.
Yeah, well, he won't have another game where there's not many passes thrown, all over the field. What Penix has done this year as a whole, what his team has done, those offensive weapons he has, the receivers, there's been, everybody knows, about what they have offensively. And so our guys will have to dig in, man. One thing that's going to be important for them is Penix is very good, very aware in the pocket. He extends plays. So we're going to have to cover. It's going to be one of those things where the way our defensive line played in this past game, you're going to have to do it again, get him off the spot, but they got to get him down because if not, these guys, man, they are special. I saw one catch over the middle, a Dunze, I believe it was, in last night's game where somebody's draped all over him and he pulls that ball in. It's like, that's special right there. Man, a game like that in game when guys make catches like that, it's funny because those guys go to the combine and we'll figure out if they can run the ball. Run down the line and catch a ball on both sides. It's like, look, man, the guy does this in games. I don't need to know if he's good or not. He goes to the combine.
Yeah, he ran the gauntlet against Texas. We saw it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we'll have our hands full with those guys, but I know the coach, Steve Cleanscale, the DB coach, man, he'll have those guys ready to play and locked in. And again, it's about, to me, that defensive line and the rotation, that we have on that line with Mason and Jenkins and those guys, man, they'll be up for the task.
All right, before I let you go, a few minutes left with Charles Woodson, Pro Football Hall of Famer, and obviously we know greatest defensive player in the history of Michigan football right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk some real stuff right here. What do you say, because the word cheaters was trending last night, Charles. What do you say to people who talk about asterisks or Michigan's a bunch of cheaters and don't deserve what's happening right now? How do you respond to that, Charles?
Well, I think if people are going to call us cheaters, then we might as well go win it all. You looked at the video with Coach Harbaugh, talking about J.J. McCarthy and, trying to compare him to Tom Brady. Here's the one thing I know about Tom Brady is that every time anybody mentions Tom Brady, they call him a 7-time Super Bowl champion. Nobody ever says anything about all the talk about cheating that New England Patriots were supposed to have done. They just say he's a 7-time Super Bowl champion. So for our guys, if they're going to call you cheaters, you might as well win it. And then guess what? Forever they have to call you a national champion. So go get it done.
Okay. And do you think this is Jim's last game as a coach? What do you think? I know. What do you think?
That's a tough one, Rich. That's a tough one. But I can certainly see that being the case. If he wins this game and he's a national champion, and you talk about all the stuff that has gone on this past year with that cheating scandal or whatever it is, there possibly being sanctions to come down the road because there's still investigations going on. I can see John or Jim moving on to the NFL.
Yeah, I by the way, I don't blame you for mixing up your Harbaughs right now. They're both number one in their respective sports. But
they're both trending.
But I mean, I about winning a Lombardi Trophy and the draw of that. Do you think that's what it is? I mean, with Jim and why he's not even answering a direct question right now about coming back and anything like that? Charles, what's the draw there?
Well, not answering a direct question. That's kind of what Jim does. He always does. He always does that. But
right.
I think that definitely could be part of it. Jim, of course, coached against his brother in the Super Bowl, and I know he probably feels like that's one that got away from him. So if he could win a championship in college and then also have an opportunity to move on and go back to the NFL and have a shot at winning the Lombardi Trophy, I'm sure that's something that's in the back of his mind that he would sure like to do. So if it were to happen, man, and he wins the championship, all I would have to say is thank you.
All right. And then this is the realest of them all, Charles. Okay. And I know I just asked you two real questions.
Yeah, two real back to back.
Okay. Where does this team currently, Michigan, compare to your national championship team? Were they right on par? Maybe.
There's one game left. If they go on and win this game, they're the greatest team in Michigan history. And
really,
hands down. And one of the reasons is because we didn't get a chance to play in a playoff and play 1 versus 2 or whatever that is. We went out and played in the Rose Bowl, played in Washington State, and we'll always have that that kind of that co-champ connected with us as national champions. This will be a team that went through the gauntlet. This will be a team that went through the playoff. This is a team that went and beat the mighty Alabama Crimson Tide in the Rose Bowl. And if they can get it done against Washington, I give it up. They'd be the greatest team in Michigan history.
Damn. How about that for an answer? Did you expect that one, guys?
Interesting.
By the way, and that's a nice carrot to put out there on the stick, Charles Woodson. I love it.
That's it.
That's it.
Put it out there. Go get it, fellas.
Go get it.
Go get it.
Love you, Charles Woodson. It was great to see you here. Thanks for doing this. You're hanging out in your garage to come and zoom in all jet lagged out. But that was just what a spot, right? That Rose Bowl. There's nothing like it. And what did you think of when you saw J.J. McCarthy put the rose in his mouth, just like you, Charles? What did you think of that?
Hey, all I could do was smile, man. I saw the picture and I reposted and said that I'd seen that somewhere before. And there was a few guys with photos with the rose in the mouth, and man, so fitting. And it was great to see those guys, man, celebrating much like we did back in the day when we got the roses. And man, we're just, hey, one more.
And it's fitting Corum wears your number too. Again, I know it's offense, defense. How good is that kid, man? And just a human as well. Just he's the best.
Tough. He's what Michigan is all about. Playing football there. The way Michigan's always been built on big, tough, physical offensive line and running the football. And whenever we need a reminder of what Michigan is, you watch what Blake Corum does in games. Just a tough, physical runner, never say die attitude. And when we needed a play, when we needed a big play, a number 2 came up with it. So I love it.
I love it. And those who stay, right, Charles? Those who stay
We'll be champions.
Which is what he did, and he's now one game away, just like you stayed instead of bolting off to Miami because you got all upset with Lloyd Carr.
Yeah. Hey, Rich, all I think about, if it would have been the days of the transfer portal, what might have been? I might have made one of the biggest mistakes of my life, man.
Thank goodness there was no portal, but your mom would have been standing in the way of the portal anyway, Charles. We know that.
No doubt.
Your mom would have been...
One call to mom changes everything.
That's right. She'd have been like Mutombo standing at the portal. No. Take care of yourself, Charles. You're the best. Love you, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, love you guys.
Right back at you. Ladies and gentlemen, Charles Woodson. Everybody zooming in. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.